Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for people in the store and people at home. We appreciate you spending your Sunday afternoon with us. Welcome to Queer Asheville Writers on Love, Grief, and Getting a Good Night's Sleep. Yes, the title of today's reading comes from partly from Lori Horvitz's new book, Collect Call to My Mother. The subtitle, Essays on Love, Grief, and Getting a Good Night's Sleep. So today we've invited other Asheville writers to join us to read on this topic. Apparently there's a lot to be said on those topics. So just a few announcements before we begin. The Great Smokies Writing Program sponsors Writers at Home. Thank you to Malaprops for having us. We also have a few events coming up that I wanted to mention. Next Monday, from 6 to 8 p.m., Lori and I will do a free writing workshop on the UNCA campus. From 6 to 8 p.m., we're going to do an hour of memoir writing exercises and then an hour reading followed by a book signing. So please join us if you can. On April the 15th, in honor of National Poetry Month, Ken Shamley will host a workshop. That's a Saturday morning from 10 to 12, seeing and re-seeing, finding poems in the familiar. There's a $20 charge for that, but you get breakfast, which is great. Breakfast, by which I mean coffee and bagels. What else do you need? And we will be back here on April the 16th at 5 to celebrate Mildred Barria's new poetry collection, The Animals of My Earth School. She'll be in conversation with Tina Barr for that event. Also, our summer classes, Great Smokies is offering summer classes in poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and there's one hybrid workshop. All of those will be amazing, and registration opens for those on April 1st, first week in April. So to learn more about any of those events, go to Great Smokies at greatsmokies.unca.edu. All right, we're going to start today with Bruce Spang, who teaches in the Great Smokies program and who is the former poet laureate of Portland. He's also the author of 2 novels, The Deception of the Thrush and Those Close Beside Me. His most recent collection of poems, All You'll Derive, A Caregiver's Journey, was published in 2020. He's also published 4 other books of poems, including To the Promised Land Grocery and Boy at the Screen Door, along with several anthologies and several chapbooks. He is the poetry and fiction editor of the Smoky Blue Literary and Arts magazine. His poems have been published in Gay and Lesbian Literary Review, Connecticut River Review, Red Rover Magazine, Great Smokies Review, Seshura Los Angeles Review, Colopsia Literary Journal, and other journals across the U.S. He lives in Candler with his husband, Miles, and there are 5 dogs, 5 fish, and 30 birds.
Thank you for coming out on this nice, warm spring day. I'm amazed you're here. And I want to thank Jennifer and Malaprops, and it's fun reading with Lori and Maggie and Eric and Lucky. It's exciting. So I'm going to disappoint you. I have nothing on getting to sleep at night because I don't know how to do that. But love and grief, I'm all right with those 2 topics. This is called Follow the Scent. Stiff-legged, midnight sniffs at a pine tree. Her nose snugs deep in the rotten leaves, dislodging clods, intent to locate what dog has lifted his leg, marked his spot, so she can inhale the scent of what's left. It's not imaginary, but there, real. In the bedroom, decades ago, I curled in sheets I hadn't changed in weeks. My lover had told me, we're not right, and left, his body in the doorway like an assassin who pulled the trigger on an empty gun and left me to live with his arms still around me, the heat of his breath on my cheek. Her old tail wagging, midnight tugs me out of the past to snarf the French fries on the side of the road. There's always something, isn't there? Even if it's just the scent of a Shih Tzu that snarls and nips, it doesn't matter, since it's someone who wants us to know he's here, nearby, Come, find him. This is a poem to Peter, a friend of mine. We used to go when we were young. That was a long time ago, to Fire Island. Any of you know about Fire Island?
Yes.
Okay. It's called The Ghost of Frank O'Hara, with epigram, "The waves have kept me from reaching you. I'd walk that Fire Island beach halfway to Cherry Cove before, the ocean disrobing beside me, sand the color of mahogany. O'Hare had stood where I was, where, as the driver of the Jeep said, he was walking toward me. He didn't even try to move. He just kept walking. The Jeep struck him with such force, he left a dent. O'Hare had laid right here, a few steps from me, liver ruptured, legs shattered, 40 hours to live. His friends wondered why he kept walking toward the Jeep. Maybe it was because he was drunk. It was 2:30 a.m., or because he saw a welcoming, a way out of non-writing, his being fed up with being too well known. Why not walk into a gift, even if it's coming at 25 miles an hour? Why not walk toward the lights where 4 decades later I stood? Death didn't matter to me. Unknown, nearly as drunk as he was, a man who'd come out at 48, divorced with no way forward. Even as I'd just been to a tea dance, the chance I might strike someone's fancy. One young man danced with me, that was it. Alone, the summer newly upon me, I passed through O'Hare's ghost and felt him latch onto my arm and ask, "What are you doing here?" He spoke about how gay men get by, for he loved language and I liked listening as he went on and on, never stopped, his sinewy bird-like body loping down the beach. He had an advantage over me, since he never aged, never collapsed in a stupor in his 50s with lung cancer or cirrhosis, younger than me, striding as I was toward a light. Except this time, the light was my weekend rental with a balcony and a view he and I soon share. While white waves came on, massive overtures rising up, crashing down, as his voice, I was still listening to him, became the voice of the sea. And this is a tutorial poem. I don't know, as you get older, sometimes you go back in time. I think it's maybe because you want to be back in that time. But this is a poem called Tutorial. When Michael asked if I ever French kissed a girl, I looked at him, parked across from me on a picnic table, his legs straddling the seat, the late afternoon sun soft on his face, his eyes gazing intently at me, and replied, "No," ashamed how little I'd done. "Have you?" I asked. "Yeah, it feels great," he said. I didn't want to bother, yet asked, "How do you do it?" "Let me show you," he said, scooting closer to me. Our knees touched. He leaned forward, pressing his lips to mine, sticking his tongue in my mouth. I recoiled. "Don't be such a girl," he said. His hands on my hips, mine in his. He'd slide his tongue in and out, up and down, as if he knew exactly what to do, as if spelunking for something in me that would take 40 years to emerge, delving into me in ways I'd yet to encounter, until in response to his tongue's longing, my tongue joined in, doing a slow waltz, mine nestled next to his, as if transcending into another language like French, its soft vowels swelling in my mouth as if I understood every word. This tutorial. That's as far as he went. I've always regretted that part of it. The door when it's open. Why do I always go back to sex? I go there as if it were a door through which I can find myself. I place my hand on the doorknob, yet it's locked. I knock, no one is there. Yet here I am waiting. The clock in the hallway chimes. If I stay put, stand here, I will find someone else is there, waiting with me. The two of us inches apart, his breath warm, titillating the hairs on my neck. He has been here long time before time was invented, before the sky was blue, before I sensed tomorrow is a gift given today. Maybe it wasn't sex after all. Such a funny word with its S and X, as if by itself sex could erase itself. Only the E is there, holding them together, wanting them to be tender, to be loved as I do, as always wanted, the door to creak open, to find I'm in love again. And the last poem, upbeat title, Flowers Die No Matter What. What can I do? Mother used to cut flowers, fistfuls of them, and arrange them, careful to blend the reds with the muted yellows, to let the greens frame the display. In a week, they'd be wilted petals on the divan, wrecked. What was the use of them? Beauty with a gash in its stem. Yet on an evening after tossing out the dead, undaunted, she'd pluck ones from the fields, gardens, anywhere they grew, toss out the old, and stem by stem, make them anew. Here I am, 7 decades on, picking words from my brain, sticking them together, knowing full well they might last no longer than the flower in a vase. I want to stop such foolishness. Who will ever remember what I wrote? I'm no Whitman with his 28 young men bathing on the shore, nor Eliot in his unreal city, nor Crane in his infinite consanguinity, not Ginsberg with his hard-on blues. I might be more like Emily in her bog, like an eye atop an unfinished pyramid on a dollar bill, little, unilluminated, wishing I was worth more. Yet I keep holding up time, fastening it to a page, as if one life is worth remembering. Should I write about something significant, whole species extinct, whole regions desiccated, dry as dust, whole cities in rot, whole populations stripped of their rights, yet my black lab, 13 now, groans and extends her paws. The pendulum bob of the grandfather clock swings back and forth. Memory alert to what was and almost forgotten what is. None of this may matter. My significance may be like the drawer where I keep many colored socks I no longer wear, or like the $100 Kohan shoes, polished yet dusty, restless on a shelf. The me who is angry at being me is no longer me. He is long gone. I do not resent as much as lament his being gone. I keep writing him back to life, the way Mom kept bringing in the blossoms as if by ordering them, by their being near, there on the table, bright, cheerful, they had come to life. Thank you.
That was just beautiful, Bruce. Next up, we have Maggie Anderson. Maggie's the author of 5 books of poetry, most recently, Dear All. Other books include Windfall, New and Selected Poems, A Space Filled with Moving and Years That Answer. She has edited several anthologies, including Learning by Heart, Contemporary American Poetry About School, and After the Bell, Contemporary American Prose About School. Her awards include 2 fellowships for the National Endowment for the Arts, fellowships from the Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania Councils on the Arts, and the Ohio Anna Library Award for contributions to the literary arts in Ohio. The founding director of the Wick Poetry Center and of the Wick Poetry Series of the Kent State University Press, Anderson is Professor Emeritus of English at Kent State and lives in Asheville. Please welcome Maggie.
Hi, thank you all for being here. Really? Okay, I got my little list here and I did all the categories. I'm sorry. Some of them had more poems in them than others. So I will just try to find my list here and read you some poems. Okay, this is A Good Night's Sleep, and it's actually, it's not about a night's sleep, it's about a nap. But that's sort of where I go sometimes. It's called In Real Life, and it has an epigraph from Oscar Wilde, who said, "One's real life is often the life that one does not live." I've been napping in my chair and have awakened just in time. Sleeping in the daytime sharpens me for nightlife, as if it were my job to get up and wet down my reeds, to play the clarinet in a small ensemble where the first set doesn't start till 10:30. My nap was the color of a moss agate, gray-green and striped, buffed to sheen and sweat. The usual nightmares. The house burns down with all my writing in it. A famous and successful writer friend offers me her dregs. Here, take these. I don't need them. My editor ransacks my closet. His shirt is ripped off by my faithful and beautiful half-vicious dog. In real life, I'm planning a new career. I imagine for myself a small congregation of gay Episcopalians somewhere in the Midwest. A town not known for tolerance, but respectful, even a bit in awe of anything that passes for style. I am their priest, their good shepherd, and all my flock play musical instruments and give amusing dinner parties. Or there is the life I seem to have imagined myself into, in which I am cleaning my reeds and shining my shoes with a band that doesn't exist in the town I never lived in, playing the instrument I don't know how to play. So I have 2 grief poems that I would like to read to you. One of the things that was interesting with this sort of assignment borrowed from Laurie's book is that I had to think about love poems. Okay, do I have a lot? I have a lot of those. And they seem to take on a new characteristic, but the grief poems were hard. Somehow I wasn't sure where I wanted to be. So what I've done is I have 2 of these. One is short and it is a personal grief poem. My mother died when I was 9 years old. And as many of you probably already know, when you pass the age your mother was, or your father, when they died, it's a kind of mysterious sort of place to be. At 50. My mother died at 50 of a beautiful word, leukemia. 9 years earlier in autumn, she gave birth to me, when the maples in the park began to turn as they do now. I don't know how to walk here. In the shifting space, no meanings fill. I have now outlived her. I enter this foreshortened field, wildly unmothered still. This is a little bit more of a grief for the world and its terribleness, I guess. And it is based on a photograph I saw at an exhibit in Europe. It's called The Wave, and it has an epigraph from Osip Mandelstam. I have studied the science of goodbyes. This photograph is blurred, but I recognize the watery fields north of Amsterdam, a windbreak of Lombardy poplars in the distance. The camera stalls the scene, unbeautiful in milky light. Only the caption, Dutch Jews departing for Auschwitz. Let us know the train is pulling away. The verb is wrong. Departing suggests volition. Why are the people in the cars leaning out the opened windows and waving to maybe 40 others who are crowded in a ditch below the tracks, lifting their arms to wave back? I have no idea who took this dim, benighted picture, a smeared document that hangs in the exhibit hall as evidence of the final solution. 1944, 4 years before I am going to be burned. The last train is departing from Westerbork nach Auschwitz. Jews are waving goodbye. Okay, now we get the love poems. And the first one is a sort of love poem to myself, I guess. Self-love is good, right? Self-portrait. I was far outside the frame, beyond the pale, lost in the margarine, smudged like a fingerprint, and frankly nervous about holding my own. I knew what was coming. You, toward me, your arms open, preparing to wrap them around my neck with the clear determination some people bring to learning anthropology. I was not about to be moved, to be swept off my feet by your exotic bracelets. I'll admit, I sometimes incline toward the minute particulars of a scene, but never have I been undone by a woman on account of her accessories. Until now. When I come into the picture, captivated by black coral beads, the gold wire of an earring, the rustle of red scarf against a neckline, as this pull, this great tug at my heart forklifts me into the foreground at the center of a photograph of empty beach, empty that is except for you and pine and manzanita, the silver rings and necklaces of white surf. Body and soul, a song, a jazz song that crossed over to be a pop song. And in essence, this poem has nothing to do with the song, but it does have to do with body and soul, which of course is love. I have waited for this storm as if for the one great love of my life, and meet it now knowing I have always been rid. Ripe to be licked by wind, I give it my own white back like the leaves. Toss in my mind as the fireflies circle. My arms edge toward it in twilight with a tenderness I've sought for years. My fingers slide familiar over thin notes as if remembered. Yes, this was how it would be. All the houses and the sheds would pall, the air would fill, and the sky yellow, before the breaking loose with it at last. Just as my own precise rhythms now rest one beat, then syncopate. Just as that solid breath now blows, straight from the sacs of the rain. Another love poem. I love love poems, they're my favorite. This is called My Father and Ezra Pound. By a strange coincidence, my father died right at the moment I was studying for my exams for university. And Ezra Pound died the same week as my father. So I drank iced tea with whiskey in it, smoked Salem's and read small poetry books on the cement slab we called a back porch, wedged into a chair made from a broken barrel and painted bright orange. Pound had just died, and also my father. I could trail a silly thought for hours. For example, when I first read Pound, he was alive, silent in St. Elizabeth's. And then I read him dead. Did this make any difference? And what about Dad? The year before he died, he wrote 50 poems and 6 plays, collaborating with his lover, the college business manager, who had AIDS, though we didn't know it then. My glass of tea was dark and didn't show the liquor, but my breath did when she kissed me. I was writing my early poems of vegetables and grief, reading the 4 quartets and Algernon Swinburne for my exams, mixing martinis in a chrome shaker from my father's house. All those years it took him to work out whom he loved, and he waited until the end to break his silence. Envelopes of blue mimeographed pages, his legacy. Once a week, my uncle called to see how I was doing. My father was his only brother, so pretty good, I always said. I listened to the Doors and Joplin. This was the 70s. I was 23 years old, turning the thin pages of the cantos. No one came to visit. We had 2 dogs. We needed nothing then except each other, and that we needed all the time. Okay. I think I want to read this poem called Dear All, which is a love poem to everybody. You, whose memory comes to me winter afternoons as the soon gone sun falls low and thin. You, whom I knew long and well. You I knew but slightly, knew not well, but cared to, had there been place enough and time. You who come to hate me now. You who are the trees out the window to me, the shallow rooted I have always loved. I greet you in my unsent letters, in both my random and my steady thoughts. You whom I failed to thank, and you I failed to turn to. You I have tried and tried to speak with and have not been able to cross those seas. You I fought with in the snow in unsatisfactory shoes, marching up and down, shouting at each other. So hot we were, so cold, the drifts deepening. You I let down and you I picked up by the highway. You who have made a name for yourself. You who were called away and never came back. You who would not leave. You I worked with as we had never worked before, side by side in the studio with 5 windows glazed by yellow light. You I no longer know but fear dead, drugs, car wrecks, the several wars, the usual details and deaths of my generation. And you, who have gone the distance, beyond your disappointments, your cancers and their dire cures, my friend, I send you this letter from the landscape of our years together. You must not wonder if I think of you still. I have remained steadfast here. I have remembered you wholly into this day. And last one, and then we're done. It's funny, if I had announced that, so you wake up the audience for that. But it's good. It's good to do that, right? I guess this is a love poem too. Its title is a line from the wonderful, great poet Muriel Rukeyser. And then I arrive at the powerful green hill. Up, up, I follow the creek bed through downed branches on spongy leaves, rimed and slippery. The way is clear because it is late winter, wet snow patches, the runoff cold, cold to the touch, the tang of ice still in it. And then I arrive at the powerful Green Hill, my place, my exact location, where I began and started from, where I will end beneath this ground. I've brought everything I've left undone. Letters, resolutions, almost loves, hard grudges, to give to the wind that takes them up, tosses them down, down until my hands are empty and I am as thin and light as a girl. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggie. I love the idea that Lori's given us an assignment. Lori's a teacher, so she's often giving assignments. So I love this assignment that she's given all these writers and their interpretations of this. Next up, we have Eric Tran. Eric is a queer Vietnamese poet and the author of Mouth, Sugar, and Smoke, and the Gutter Spread Guide to Prayer. His poetry has been featured in All Things Considered, Poetry Daily, and Best of the Net, among other publications. He's completing his fellowship in addiction psychiatry at the Oregon Health and Science University in Portland. Please welcome Eric.
Anger, North Carolina. I read about the winner of the Harris Teeter gift card and thought they lived in angrier North Carolina. A mistake small enough to slip into your pocket at the checkout line. But I admit I'm angry. 4 of my friends died this year. I would have more save the dates for wakes than weddings on my refrigerator door if 30-somethings did that. You maybe see now why I'm angry. My friend said he was scared to die alone, and I said he was silly instead of, well, let's get married then. I admit my fist has tightened around my steering wheel as if to say I'm okay if I'm not screaming, as if to say, look at all the control I have. I admit I'm so angry that I cry at surprise proposals now. I'm so angry I write down everyone's birthday, so angry I demand unending hugs. I am lousy and bloated with love. In anger, I apologize for not congratulating you sooner, Lisa M. of Anger, North Carolina. I'm angry and I wish you the bounty of double coupon day, of dented cans sold for cheap, a slab of bloody roasts with the most perfect marble, a flat of strawberries near spoil, right when they're sweetest. To me, every poem is a love poem and a love letter, in the sense that everything I say is a love letter. And this is a love letter to one of the residents I trained under in medical school. My dearest resident Brian, am I assigned a med student at 6 a.m. Brian? My floor shims pounding the linoleum because this morning's patients are especially sick. Brian, my muttering to himself about urine outputs and losartan doses in the hallway, Brian, but lilted voice around patients, sorry to hear you didn't sleep well, Brian. My worries about Mr. Donaldson's 30-pack year smoking habit, my calling for the x-ray reading of a lung nodule, Brian, my up late writing notes, Brian, my still finds time for giving advice about clinical rotations, Brian, the only feedback so far is to lose the tie, Brian, I only survived med school because of my wife, Brian, my Brian with multiple pagers that you won't give it to another intern because I had it last night. My still thinking about Mrs. Rodriguez's heart attack in room 33. Brian, I'm not scared I'll get in trouble. I'm scared she'll be hurt. I've never seen you take a lunch, so I bring you 2 donuts in the AM. Brian, this day is the picture of disaster, but keeps walking towards the next room and smiles. Brian, when did your sin last see sun? Brian, does each day collapse into the next? Brian, I hope you slept some hours last night. Brian, My please hydrate, Brian. My we've got news, Brian. My when you finally took a break, Brian. My we got the results, Brian. My it's not cancer, Brian. My did you hear us? My wildfires can burn eucalyptus trees black and charred, Brian. My but they grow back at the treetops, not at the base, Brian. My did you hear us, Brian? My survival is seen both at the wreckage and away from it, Brian. My it's not cancer, Brian. My some days it's not cancer, Brian. Some days it's not cancer. I have a new poem that maybe we'll experiment with today. This is called Eric Tran Writes His Own Letter of Recommendation. He's slept through a fire, a marching band, cumulative months of depression fog, and this is why he's such a team player. He's stolen a pack of gum and everyone knew when he had a crush on them, and this is why he should handle your social media. He's never fractured a bone without getting fat on the marrow, and this is why he always arrives early. He fought off a fist, finally, but he has never broken a marriage, and this is why you should ask him to house sit. He's never finished a song aloud to another singing soul, and this is why he always has a condom. He's yelled at someone once, just once, which made his boyfriend laugh, and this is why you can tell him all your secrets. He's got the coloring of a bruise coaxed back into circulation, and this is why he hugs so hard and for so long. He's shaken a hand, a gun, the handle of a suitcase, and has never dropped a single one by mistake. This is why he'll be all right. He'll be all right. Maybe just one poem left. Bruce, when you were reading your poem about your mother, I thought about this poem, so I'll read this one. It's called My Mother Asks How I Was Gay Before Sleeping with a Man. She says, I taught you this before. Press the skin of pears to your nose to sense if they're ripe. Sound out foreign words, spring load them on your lips before flicking them off your tongue. Measure drinks with your fingers, test golds with your teeth. Do you trust the strength of ice with the weight of one toe? The day's weather without throwing yourself into it, the spice of a pepper by biting the tip. Sun, the world is not known by its surfaces alone. When you cut new flowers, split their stems like a giant vein, teach them to drink water again. I warned you once not to touch fire red coils, but you had to reach out your hand, palm the heat, hold the fire in your fist to learn how to be afraid. Thank you all.
Thank you, Eric. I neglected to mention that all of these writers have books for sale here at the Register, and for you people online, on one of the links, one of the pages, you can order books as well. So please do that. Please support Malaprops. Next up, we have Lori, who is the author of 2 collections of memoir essays, Collect Call to My Mother, Essays on Love, Grief, and Getting a Good Night's Sleep, and The Girls of Usually. Her personal essays have appeared in a variety of journals, including Under the Sun, Hobart, South Dakota Review, The Laurel Review, The New York Times, The Guardian, and Hotel America. Professor of English at UNC Asheville, Horvitz has been awarded fellowships from Yaddo, Cottages at Hedgebrook, BCCA, Ragdale, Blue Mountain Center, and Brush Creek. She holds a PhD in English from SUNY Albany and an MFA in creative writing from Brooklyn College. Please welcome Lori.
Thanks everybody for coming out. I'm going to read the sleep part. And this is called Sleep Cycles. It's an essay in 10 short parts. 1, sometimes sleep, no matter what I do, never comes. Like when I crashed on a friend's couch in New York, a comfortable leather couch she found for free on Craigslist. I used earplugs, breathing techniques, but nothing helped.
6 months later, my friend invited me to stay again. I said no. I didn't want to be near that couch. 3 years later, my friend told me she invited a shaman to her apartment. Get rid of it, the shaman said, pointing to the couch. It's got negative entities living in it. Similar to lice, he said, entities like to jump to a fresh source of energy. 2, desperate for my mother's attention, I accompanied her on outings to antique shops, even though flapper dresses, Victorian furniture, and sepia-tone postcards with faded scripts of people long dead frightened me. It didn't take long before I tugged at her coat and begged to leave. As if I had amnesia, I went with her again and again. My mother sorted through stereoscopes and cast iron trivets, mesmerized in her own mothball paradise. She hummed and caressed carnival glass and washboards. On a rickety porch, I waited outside and cried. I never questioned why I felt out of sorts in antique shops. After all, I know people who fear wind, buttons, and flutes. 3, in my teenage years, I babysat on weekends. Late at night, too scared to watch old black and white movies, I opted for the only other choice on television, harness racing. I'd much prefer to watch harnesses trot around a brightly lit track than subject myself to those now deceased actors. 4, my theory on why I'm uncomfortable in antique shops is similar to why I have insomnia. Maybe I have a thin skin when it comes to filtering out different energies, sounds, and smells. Alternative healers might call this my thin skin aura. Rooted in Greek, the word aura means breath, cool breeze, air in motion. Mystics view the aura as the essence of the individual, the subtle emanation surrounding the body of a living creature. In a cartoon version, Pigpen from Charlie Brown demonstrates this by the filthy aura frolicking around his body. Remember?
Yes.
At times, I'm scared I'll die of sleep deprivation, when my mind is like a prank birthday candle that won't go out. One night, I began to read a well-researched book about sleep. In the preface, the author writes about how lack of sleep could lead to cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. Anxiety kicked in full throttle. I closed the book, donated it to Goodwill. 6, I met a writer of surrealist novels, a billionaire's daughter, at an artist residency. I wish I had insomnia, she said. My favorite writers had insomnia, Kafka, Dickens, Nabokov. You're so lucky. 7, Carrie, a friend in grad school, invited a handful of classmates to her mother's old Victorian house for a sleepover party. Her mother had left town for the weekend. Somewhere in upstate New York, the house had a cemetery in the back, headstones dating to the 18th century. We cooked dinner, danced, played music. I slept in her mother's bedroom, but an hour after falling asleep, a teenage girl wearing a tank top stood by my bed, arms crossed, dark straight hair down to her waist. She stared at me, hard and curious. Hello, I said. I threw my head into a pillow and turned on the light. The girl disappeared. I got up, walked around. Everyone was sleeping. Was it a dream? In the morning, I told Carrie about the ghost. Really? She said. What did it look like? I described the teenage girl, the hair, the tank top, the blank expression on her face. Weird, Carrie said. 6 months ago, my 14-year-old niece jumped in front of a train. She was close to my mother. My mother tells me she feels my niece's presence in the house and talks to her. She showed me a snapshot of the same teenage girl, hair down to her waist, the girl who checked out a stranger sleeping in her aunt's bed. Although spooked and exhausted, I felt honored, a little special, to see into another world, to know the other world sees me. 8, an acupuncturist stuck needles in my ankle, my ear, my hands, and left the room. I closed my eyes, exhausted from lack of sleep, and saw my mother, her distant gaze, her freckles, red hair, the mole on her left cheek. Tears oozed. I didn't hold back, not until the acupuncturist plucked the needles out, as if sealing off a dam. 9, I don't think I'm depressed, I told my therapist after I could barely sleep for 2 weeks. My school year had finished and I was on my way to Greece. She didn't think I was depressed either. Maybe you're used to worrying about something, she said, and your brain has a void that needs to be filled. My acupuncturist advised me to meditate. My doctor, an older man about to retire, prescribed hormone replacement therapy. I didn't pick up the prescription. I didn't think my hormones were the problem. But I drank whiskey, smoked weed, popped melatonin, and anti-anxiety medication. I moved my bed. Nothing worked. On a good night, I slept between 2 and 4 hours and woke up with a hangover. I wondered if people could die of sleep deprivation. Apparently, there are no known human cases of death caused by lack of sleep. But in the 80s, a University of Chicago researcher conducted a series of experiments on rats. After 32 days of total sleep deprivation, all the rats were dead. 2 friends recommended shamans they knew. Both were booked up for a month. Before flying to Greece, I visited my father in New York. I slept fine in his apartment, even on an old pull-out couch with springs jabbing into my back. I slept well in Greece. Now convinced my home was the problem, not my hormones, I had to do something. A friend recommended I call a psychic in Idaho. She's the real deal, she said. The psychic told me I needed to purify my aura. She told me I needed to protect myself from negative energy, surround myself with light, have confidence, burn sage and white candles, chant Om and say prayers. I keep hearing the words, she said, purify your aura. It's easy enough, she said, to tell the spirits to leave. They don't necessarily have bad intentions. This is my home, she told me, to say, I will take care of it. Now it's time to leave. I don't want you to hold back from your spiritual growth. You have the freedom to cross over to the other side, and I wish you well. She told me that if I feel heavy energy in the room, loud clapping could break it up. Did your mother have red hair? She asked out of the blue. She was a natural redhead, I said. She wants you to explore all options, she said, and do what she didn't do. Branch out, make changes in your life. That night, I burned sage, told the spirits to leave, but at 3 a.m, when I still couldn't sleep, I got up and screamed, get the fuck out of here, leave me alone, let me sleep. And I slept. 10. 4 years after my mother's death, I was a fellow at an artist colony in Woodstock, New York, just down the road from where Bob Dylan once lived. In an old mansion, I lived with 10 other artists, my first colony experience, but I could barely sleep. 2 times during the first week, I woke up with a white face staring in my face. Both times I yelled, hello? Once I turned the light on. I figured the white face was part of a recurrent dream. In the same week, I had another dream. In my parents' bedroom, I told my mother about the white face waking me. She said she had also seen ghosts. She looked at the wall in front of her. Orbs of light danced around in a circle. My dream ended. I told another resident, a painter, about the white face. The artist had dark hair down to her waist and drove an old turquoise Volvo. She pointed to the front left corner of my bedroom. That's where it is, she said. I definitely feel a presence. She burned sage and frankincense and asked the presence to leave, yet I didn't want to take a chance with meeting the white face again. I slept in my studio and slept fine. The painter stayed for another month after I left. She asked the next occupant in that room about the presence. Without a pause, the new resident told her, there's a ghost in the room. She's a nice ghost. My friend said, but the ghost kept my friend awake. Maybe, the new occupant said, she's trying to remind her to think about her mother.
Thank you, Lori. And last but not least, am I doing that right? We're supposed to announce when it's the last one coming up. Okay. We have Lockie Hunter. Lockie serves as associate producer of the Poetry and Prose radio program Wordplay on 103.3 FM in Asheville. She holds an MFA in creative writing from Emerson College in Boston and has taught creative writing in Warren Wilson. Her work has appeared in Brevity, the Baltimore Review, the North Carolina Literary Review, Christian Science Monitor, Gulfstream Literary Magazine, McSweeney's Internet Tendency, and elsewhere. Lockie has received scholarships or grants from the North Carolina Arts Council and the Arrowroot School of Arts and Crafts. Please welcome Lockie.
Little shorter here. Thank you.
And thank you, Malaprops, for being such a wonderful community resource as always. And Stephanie, and Patricia, and Jennifer for organizing this. Thank you. As I was taking a look at my love poems, and I write a lot of love poems, I actually was thinking about my love for a painting. And this is a new piece. It's called Dance of Youth as Engraved on My Skin. And it starts with an epigraph by Kandinsky. The artist must train not only his eye, but also his soul. People dance on my right hip. My first tattoo was from Lyle Tuttle's tattoo parlor on Columbus Street in San Francisco. It is from a painting commissioned for a conference in Geneva. I adore the acuity of line, the primary colors playing on my skin. I wanted a Kandinsky installed on my left hip to create balance, but every tattoo artist told me that my chosen painting had too much white and it would look like a scar, even on my dusky skin. So I limp from the imbalance of art. The people on my right hip hold hands, form a circle, locked permanently in a dance. When I became pregnant, they opened a wider circle to allow for the new baby. Hands still touching, but arms stretching longer. As I age and my skin loses its elasticity, I imagine they will dance slower, with more precision, perhaps, but no less joy. My 4-year-old daughter enters my closet. I'm stripping out of my wet clothes, slipping into pajamas. She studies my body and asks, "What do you think mine will be?" "Your what, sweetheart?" "My tattoo," she says, her small hands tracing the dancers. "When my tattoo comes in, what do you think it will decide to be?" I ask what makes her think that tattoos arrive unbidden, and she tells me that that's what happens when people grow up. She says this with certainty. The idea of spontaneous tattoos sprouting from limbs at puberty is enchanting. Tattoos bursting forth, rupturing and staining skin. "I hope it's a butterfly," she says, "or a unicorn. I think I could earn a unicorn tattoo if I'm really, really good." I look at my daughter's face and wonder what image will dance on her sweet skin when she is ready. And this next piece is about not getting a good night's sleep. And it's called How to Support Your Daughter When She Moves to San Francisco. And this is why I'm not getting a good night's sleep, the first part. Begin by calling her at 5 a.m. every day. When she answers the phone in a groggy voice, claim you forgot the time change. Enlist help from all your family members. Start a morning phone call rotation schedule. Keep it in a spreadsheet. Ask Mama Sly to call Monday at 5 a.m. and Jan to call Tuesday at 5 a.m. and so forth. If your daughter becomes too sleepy to go to work, she'll get fired and return to North Carolina. Tell her you heard on Fox News that parts of San Francisco are going to fall into the ocean. Any day now, it's true. You think it was Sean Hannity. Regardless, it's one of those new shows. She should be very careful. Tell her you heard that there's no clean water in San Francisco. It's true. She should be careful if she drinks any water in the city limits. Tell her you heard on Fox News that in addition to COVID and the AIDS epidemic, which is rampant, hepatitis C and even the chicken pox are making a comeback in San Francisco. It's a city full of disease. It's true. You would not be surprised if the Black Plague resurfaces in San Francisco. When she tells you she has something important to tell you, tell her you have something important to tell her. Tell her about your garden. She needs to know about the wandering daylilies. They are propagating on their own, jumping to new beds, running away, invading the marigolds. Decide to visit her. When she picks you up at the airport, ask her if people don't wear bras in San Francisco. Ask her if they sell hairbrushes in the stores. Ask her if she lost her razor and thus can't shave her legs properly, or if it's that water shortage that Glenn Beck warned you about. You knew he was right, fair and balanced. Take her to lunch at her favorite place. When the server arrives with a pierced eyelid, speculate loudly as to whether the server had an unhappy childhood. Refuse to eat your meal as you saw the sanitation license in the bathroom and you think someone changed the score from 30 to 90. Ask her if she misses North Carolina. Ask her if she misses the luxurious green of spring and the dogwood petals that litter the sidewalk in front of your house. Tell her that speaking of litter, San Francisco is full of it, awfully dirty. Point to a trash bag and shake your head. When she tells you that it is trash day on that side of the street, tell her you think probably every day is trash day in San Francisco. Speaking of trashy, your daylilies are taking over. She tells you the lilies should be divided and moved every 4 years. If they're not moved, their blossoms diminish, their roots become tangled and matted. Tell her you know perfectly well how to care for your own garden. Ask her why she prefers living among gay men. Quote Leviticus again. Tell her she comes home, you'll pay for her master's degree. Tell her she comes home, you'll pay for a new razor and a bra and a hairbrush. When she points out the Golden Gate Bridge, she tells you it's constantly being painted every day, like Sisyphus rolling a boulder up the hill. When the painters reach one side of the bridge, they return to the other side where the paint has already begun to peel. Tell her that you have Sisyphean task as well, by the amount of weeding needed in the flower bed alone. The daylilies are taking over. It's a conspiracy. You keep dividing them and giving them away, but part of you feels sad every time you give away a flower because you remember they were her favorites. Trashy little flowers, not boastful like stargazer lilies, not polite like tulips who simply turn their heads to follow the sun. Daylilies are gaudy orange. They could grow anywhere, even in this ever-present San Francisco fog.
Stephanie, do we have time for questions or are we about at time?
We are about at time.
Okay.
If you wanted to take like one from the audience, but it's got 3 minutes.
We've got 3 minutes. Does anyone have a 3-minute question? We might have a 3-minute answer. All right. In lieu of rushing you through your questions, I'll invite you to stick around to get your books signed by these fabulous writers that we've heard from today. And thank you again for coming out on this warm spring afternoon. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.